Right. I think the real question is more on the Republican side. Now that the Senate majority is not at stake, do they put in the same kind of effort for Herschel Walker there? Of course, you could say the same thing on the Democratic side since they already have the majority in hand. If anything, though, early voting numbers actually probably tilt Democrats' way a little bit.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering this week and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Westwood, and I'm here today with magazine editor David Mark. And David, House Democrats are sorting out their leadership this week. They elected Hakeem Jeffries to become their next leader. What are your expectations for how he will perform and operate as the new Democratic leader?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a couple dynamics here. One is Hakeem Jeffries. He's the current House Democratic Caucus chairman, which is fourth in line of seniority in the majority. He will now be the minority leader, replacing Nancy Pelosi, who's been Speaker for a number of years and the leader of Democrats in the House for about 20 years now. Hakeem Jeffries, he's a bit of a blank slate because he's never actually been in a leadership position like this. You do have to give him credit, though. He had a lot of political acumen and skill just to be able to get this position in the first place. He basically had this thing wired and locked down months in advance. By the time anybody tried to make a run at him, like, say, Congressman Adam Schiff, Democrat from California, it was too late. Jeffries had the votes locked up, so he seems to be off to a good start. But also, he's going to be in the minority, which is a totally different ballgame, not nearly as much fun as getting to run the show.
Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer, the top two House Democratic leaders prior to this cycle, are staying on as rank-and-file members. How is that going to work? And is Jeffries going to really be able to wield power with them sort of still looming over him in the background?
Right. These two kind of titans of the Democratic caucus are going to be hovering in the background. As you say, they both claim that they're not going to be second-guessing or offering unsolicited advice. But inevitably, just by being there, it sets up a strange dynamic. It's kind of odd. They're both staying on. They both don't really need the jobs anymore. They've both been senior leadership. For Hoyer, maybe it makes a bit more sense. He's local. His district is just outside Washington, D.C. He's got a nice house in Southern Maryland. He could go home at night. It's not like he has to hop a plane to San Francisco each week like Nancy Pelosi does. But these people get addicted to power, and it's hard to go no matter what, even if they're in a lower position.
And finally, looking ahead to the Georgia Senate runoff, which is happening, the election day for that, rather, is happening on Tuesday. What are some of the scenarios that you see playing out there? Do you think enough Kemp-Warnock voters will come home to the Republican Party? Will Democrats get complacent now that they have their majorities in hand?
Right. I think the real question is more on the Republican side. Now that the Senate majority is not at stake, do they put in the same kind of effort for Herschel Walker there? Of course, you could say the same thing on the Democratic side since they already have the majority in hand. If anything, though, early voting numbers actually probably tilt Democrats' way a little bit. And usually you have to be careful with those kind of figures, but they actually were pretty predictive in the 2022 cycle. Now, special elections, or in this case, a runoff, they have their own dynamics, but you'd have to say maybe Democrats have a little bit of an edge, but it could truly go either way.
Well, David, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
You can get more reporting from David and the rest of the political team at washingtonexaminer.com.